I'm back. All right. I told you I would be. Let's talk about today's NHL news. One of those videos, starting with the Anaheim Ducks, right behind me there. Now, apparently, it was reported that they had offered Kevin Shattenkirk a 2-year deal north of $2 million AAV. Why did he not take it? Well, because he signed with the Tampa Bay Lightning yesterday for $1.175 million. Well, that's less money and for less term. And, well, it's not a big mystery here. Really, Tampa Bay is a contender. Obviously, Anaheim is not. I mean, I'm guessing they finish at least in the bottom third of the league next year. We'll see what happens with their new coach and everything, but I don't see him turning any huge miracles in the first year, at least. Plus, he's somewhat unproven. Moving on, let's talk about the St. Louis Blues and how an arbitrator has awarded defenseman Joel Edmunson a 1-year deal worth $3.1 million. Now, Joel Edmunson is a left shot defenseman. He's 26 years old. He's from Brandon, Manitoba. 6'4", 215 pounds. Big boy. In his last season there, he had, in 64 games, he had 2 goals and 11 points. It was a +8. Now, Edmunson had asked for $4.2 million, and the Blues count over 2.3. According to Sportsnet Elliot Friedman. Now, the walkaway minimum, which I'm learning more about every day, in 2019 is set at $4 million, $397,832, according to Cap Friendly, meaning St. Louis was obligated to honor the contract awarded by the arbitrator. Edmunson appeared, in 64 games. I mentioned all that already. Now, with his situation now resolved, they have $1.97 million left under the cap, remaining to sign restricted free agent Ivan Barbashev / fourth line center. We'll get to him in a bit. Let's just take a quick peek at the St. Louis Blues D right now. So they have 3 guys who are going to be UFAs next season, including Joel Edmunson, who just signed. And we're talking about, of course, their captain, right shot defenseman Peter Angelo, who's 29 years old. He's got $6.5 million left on his contract. Then there's Jay Bouwmeester, a left shot defenseman, who's 35 years old, who's making $3.25 million. I do not see them re-signing him next season, unless it's for a sweetheart home signing of a deal. And then, of course, they have two defensemen, up-and-coming defensemen, both left shot, in Vince Dunn and Derek Pouliot, especially Vince Dunn, is 22 years old, who are making league minimum and will both be RFAs after next season. Vince Dunn is especially going to ask for a raise. He has no arbitration rights, by the way, but Pouliot does. So, yeah, you can see them trying to make space with after Bouwmeester leaves, and it depends how much is Pietrangelo's ask. Just north of 7.5. I don't know. The only other UFA that they have is in their forward group, and that's Braden Shen, who was making $5.125 million. You think his ask might be north of that as well, around 6.5 or ish. So that's where that stands right now. Now on the right, they have Colton Paryenko, of course, Joel Edmunson, who just signed, and Robert Bertuzzo, who are right shot defensemen. So there's a little picture for you. Now, Ian Barbashev that's who they're hoping, this last bit of money might go to. He's 23 years old. He shoots left. A center from Russia, from Moscow, 6 foot, 187 pounds. Last season was his first full season with the Blues. He had 14 goals and 26 points and was a -4. And the 2 seasons previous to that, he kind of flip-flopped back and forth between the Chicago Wolves and St. Louis. Will he take 1.5 or whatever's left, 1.9? We'll see. But you can't be paying your fourth line center any more than, I think, 1.5 maximum, even with 26 points on a team like that, with the contracts they have coming up. You don't know how tight the cap is going to be again next season. Anyways, next up, we've got the Minnesota Wild have interviewed the Hurricanes' current sort of GM, Don Waddell. Yes. Why is this so interesting? Because Waddell's contract actually ended technically on June 30th. But he's still been, in the active GM chair, doing things like matching Aho's contract and making a handful of signings here and there. Now, Tom Dundon, the owner, and Waddell have agreed that they, want to extend their relationship. But Tom Dundon is quoted as saying, even if I had a contract, I would let him interview. It's not going to stop somebody from doing whatever's best for them. If they're going to pay somebody more money, I'm not going to stop him. I told him he's got to do what's best for him. That's what the owner says. Last season, of course, marked Waddell's first season as GM with the Hurricanes, but he ran the business side of the organization for the previous 5 years. So he wasn't a noob. Now, he's 60 years old and has career experience, obviously, as a scout with the Pittsburgh Penguins and GM with the Atlanta Thrashers, now extinct team of the NHL from 1998 to 2010. And his tenure there was a little rocky at best. Marian Hossa trade. Kovalchuk trade, excuse me. It's going around. Just don't inhale when you watch this video. So, even though he's not under contract with the Hurricanes, Waddell has maintained his managerial duties, as I've already mentioned. And he has some more quotes here that I'm looking at that I'm not going to go over because basically they say the same thing that I've already mentioned. But now Waddell's first year, of course, ended the Hurricanes' 10-year-long playoff drought, and they went all the way to the Eastern Conference Final, and it was a big factor in him ultimately being named a finalist. I still kind of shook my head just a little bit at that for General Manager of the Year. To me, you got to prove yourself a little bit more in that category, especially with the history they had with the Thrashers. And if I'm Minnesota, I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, I know we need someone now, but I'd want to see him as a general GM for at least another year, maybe 2, before we thought of, giving him that helm, considering his rep with the Thrashers alone, and that there's a 5-6 year window in between that where he hasn't managed a team. I know he's still, he's a senior and stuff. The clock is ticking for him, but unless he gets Alzheimer's, really, he can do it till he's, in his 70s. Look at Lou Lamoriello, say no more. So, anyway, one of, just to highlight Waddell's career, one of his major trades was, of course, the Nina Ryder for Victor Rask. Nina Ryder went on to score 30 points in 36 games after being traded to the Hurricanes, while Rask mustered 3 points in 23 with the Wild. So the Wild have also interviewed Pittsburgh Penguins assistant GM Bill Guerin, who's probably around the top 5 of their list right now, and have reportedly reached out to a bunch of other candidates, including Tom Fitzgerald, I believe, of the Florida Panthers right now. I want to say Chris Drury, Mark Hunter, who should be at the top of their list, I would think, near it in the top 2. Bill Zito, Basil McRae, Mike Fuda, Sean Burke should probably be in the top 5. And, of course, this is after the firing of Paul Fenton, just after 1 year behind the helm of Minnesota. I'm not going to get... That's another video. What was he doing? I'm and good on the owner for stepping in only after one season and realizing, hey, this isn't working. Besides the trades, some of the relationship he's had with, internally and so on and so forth and blah, blah, blah. My 2 cents, I'd go after either Ron Hextall or Mark Hunter. And I know Mark Hunter, he hasn't GM before, but he was assistant with the Leafs for a while. He's been managing the London Knights for a really long time. I would think he's prime for a position. One could argue about his scouting hits and misses, but and then there's Ron Hextall, who he made some mistakes in Philly, but he really built up their words. He built up their youth program, their prospects really well, and I'm sure as a beginning GM, 5 years with Philly, he probably learned a lot of things as well, and I think he'd be trending upwards. Those are my 2 picks. Anyways, I would love to hear yours. Who you think, especially Wild fans, the next general manager should be, and why? And that's about it. I have one little tidbit here left about. It's a rumor. It's been buzzing around social media that the Montreal Canadiens have a mystery defenseman that they're about to sign, and that it might be Jake Gardiner, formerly of the Toronto Maple Leafs, left shot defender, I believe. I want to say he's 29 years old. Take that for what it is. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like button for me and smash that subscribe button. And I'll see you soon.